You have been the one for me. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. And I still...
Hello Raptors fans! Today's episode will be a quick delve into the Raptors preseason play, what I'm excited about, details I've noticed, and reading the tea leaves for what we can expect to happen in the regular season. Let's dive in. First, let's talk Matt Thomas's defense. Nick Nurse, when asked about Matt Thomas, delivered a refrain that should be familiar to committed Raptors fans. He needs to show he can defend.
You got to play at both ends too, right? It's not like you say, I'm just like you, and I see my eyes light up just like yours do when you see him come in there and start banging shots, right? And same with Terrence Davis, but they got to play at the other end too.
After watching him in the first preseason game, I came away pretty impressed with his defensive commitment. His offensive contributions in the first game were a bit more obvious, but here are a few sequences that I thought showed he could be an asset on the defensive side of the ball as well. It wasn't all sunshine and lollipops, as there were a few times when I think that his defensive weaknesses showed up, and I'll let you see those as well. This first sequence is on the break, where Matt is the closest player to the rim and has the difficult task of keeping the 6'7", 230-pound power forward PJ Washington from catching the pass. Matt correctly identifies that Washington is the target for the pass, ties him up a bit, and then intercepts the lob attempt. Good awareness and execution. Now here's an example of Matt's weaknesses. Matt picks up LaMelo Ball in a semi-fast break situation, and LaMelo drives towards the screening Zeller. Matt doesn't do a good job staying attached to LaMelo and avoids contact on the screen, putting him in a following position. By the time LaMelo draws help, Matt is trailing the play significantly and isn't in a position to help guard the rolling Zeller, who ends up getting fouled. This was a very poor defensive sequence from Matt. On this play, Matt is in the post again, guarding the much larger Miles Bridges. Matt is overmatched physically, but he's not a weakling, and he does a good job bodying him up and forcing him to take a contested turnaround floater. Not DPOY highlight material or anything, but Matt looks capable here and does a fundamentally sound job. In this play, Matt is at the top of the arc, and Hornets forward Caleb Martin attempts to initiate a pick and roll with Cody Zeller. OG comes up to contest the penetration, allowing Matt to stay attached to Martin, and he does a good enough job to force him to give the ball up. Again, not DPOY stuff, but good enough that he's not letting less offensively gifted players abuse him in the pick and roll. In this sequence, Matt shows that he still has difficulty in screen and roll situations. Here he comes out too high, probably in an attempt to avoid the Zeller screen, and is immediately in a trailing position. Because he's a bit late on this play, I'd probably like to see Matt either go under the screen or absorb some contact on the screener and try and move laterally in order to stay closer to his man. In this play, Matt is guilty of something that used to drive me crazy when I used to watch Jose Calderon play for the Raptors. Here he's playing, quote, help defense, where he's not really helping. I understand his desire to want to pack the paint to help out his teammates, but in this play he's kind of in no man's land, i.e. not far enough in the paint to help on the drive, and too far away from his man to properly contest the corner three. In this sequence, Matt does a much better job with what I described in the previous clip. Here he's tasked with guarding Martin on the perimeter, and when Martin cuts into the paint and then the corner, Matt stays in the paint to help out on the pick and roll. Adding the extra body to the paint is very useful to help out in pick and roll situations, and he forces LaMelo Ball to give the ball up, and Matt is quick enough to get out to contest a potential corner three. This next play is probably one of my favorite Matt Thomas defensive plays. It's a sideline out of bounds for the Hornets, and Matt cuts off the center of the court by guarding Hayward tight. Because it's a sideline out of bounds and Hayward's back is to the half-court line, Hayward can't dribble backwards to escape the trap, and Len does a good job of quickly springing the trap and coming up to box Hayward in. Hayward attempts to pass to Zeller, but ball hawk Malachi Flynn comes up with the steal. This won't make any highlight reels, but it's good solid stuff, and I think that Matt can do this kind of thing to help out on defense. I don't think that Matt will ever be a stopper, and I don't know if he'll even be above average on the defensive end. But considering his impressive and seemingly expanding set of skills on offense, simply being adequate defensively is all he needs to do. The next thing I'll be discussing is Malachi Flynn's heady play as a rookie. Should rookies really look this polished? Malachi looked very much as draft expert Ed Hoopgoose outlined in the rookie episode of Raptors Report a few weeks ago. He's an expert pick and roll player with a great shot and good, smart defense. Let's look at some of Flynn's highlights, and we'll start with one of the most impressive plays I saw from the rookie. In this play, Malachi Flynn initiates a pick and roll with Chris Boucher, and despite not getting a great screen, is able to get past his man, draw the help defense, and deliver a Steve Nash-style wraparound baseline pass on the button for a Boucher dunk. What a gorgeous play from the Rook. Next we see Flynn leading the break, and he gets off a high degree of difficulty pass around Hayward to a wide open Matt Thomas. Matt isn't able to convert, but as we can see on the very next play, Malachi does a very smart and unselfish thing by passing up a corner three to get Thomas, one of the best shooters in the entire world, an open three-point shot, which he drains. Flynn is a very high IQ player, especially for a rookie. The next play is a highlight reel defensive sequence. LaMelo is able to use the Zeller screen to get past Malachi, but when he slows down to get around Boucher, Malachi is able to pick his pocket from behind and snatch the ball away. After grabbing the steal, he's able to convert on the fast break by finding the streaking Terrence Davis. In the replay, you can see some nice defensive fundamentals from the rookie, where he moves laterally and keeps his hands high around the screen to avoid a foul call, and then he times the reach in perfectly to grab the ball. The next clip shows both Flynn's high IQ and his skills when he identifies the bad matchup and attacks Zeller off of the dribble. He uses a crossover and a series of hesitation moves, and by doing so, he's able to put Cody on skates and get wide open for an easy short pull-up. These are moves you see from seasoned pros who know how to attack bad matchups, and Flynn does it absolutely beautifully here. The last clip is just of Malachi's beautiful looking shot. So far, Flynn has been great from long distance, shooting 6 for 14 from beyond the arc, and it's not really surprising when you look at his shot. The only very small criticism of his shot is that the gather and windup could be sped up slightly, but other than that, it's picture perfect. Now those are only a couple of plays, but there were many more that show why Raptors fans are raving about what appears to be the Raptors' latest draft steal. I'm super excited to watch him going forward. And that's the episode. Obviously, there's a ton of Raptors content to discuss outside of these few preseason clips, and I promise I will be discussing them. In fact, I have a very cool thing that I'll be announcing in the next couple of days, so stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter @Raptors Report, and I'll keep you guys in the loop on my videos and hopefully fill your feed with cool Raptors content. As always, thanks for watching Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.